But it was amazing. I mean, of course, São Paulo FC is already well known worldwide, but at the same time, it's not, people doesn't speak about São Paulo or the Brazilian clubs as they should do. Like we speak down here about the European clubs, you know, AC Milan, Manchester City, United. And there is where the internationalization takes part. I mean, okay, it doesn't matter if you know São Paulo or Flamengo or Palmeiras because of something in the
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Global podcast. And today I'm here with Camilla Prando. And Camilla, first of all, how are you? And thanks for taking the time.
Hi, Olen. Thank you so much for the invitation of Sporting Global. I'm very excited to be here and having this chat with you.
Absolutely. Well, it's our pleasure having you here. And first of all, we got to talk a little bit about your background. You know, love that city view. Tell me a little bit of where you are and I guess what can we see behind you?
Yeah, I'm in São Paulo, and like you can see, like lots of high buildings, typical metropolitan city. So yeah,
it's nice. You know, it's a big city life. You know, it's. Do you enjoy the big city life, or are you more of a? I know you've been to Sweden a lot too, which is a little bit more, you know, nature and a little bit spread across the big buildings.
Yes, but I do love it. I mean, I love this dynamic and this, you know, everything happens in a high speed and you just need to be a workaholic to make it good over here. So I really like it.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, like, isn't that why we're in sport? You know, like the fast pace, you know, day to day, kind of like things happening all the time. And yeah, I mean, like it's obviously you have a cool background, a lot of cool stuff that we're going to talk about during the podcast. And I think, like, you know, first and foremost, I just wanted to, you know, if you could share a little bit about your journey in the sport industry. Take us a little bit through like how it all started and your journey so far.
Yeah, of course. Well, everything started when I was 9, actually, because it was when I moved from Brazil to Sweden with my family.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I remember, you know, it was cool because I was like, okay, Sweden, what is it? I mean, a 9-year-old child who doesn't know anything about geography and anything about the world. So it was fun because when we moved to Sweden, it was during the winter. So when I came over there, it was like, okay, facing 1 meter high snow and minus 20 degrees. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I just moved to a freeze, of course. So I got scared. That was my first reaction, I would say. And my father, he has been like in Sweden many times before, so he actually tried to tell me some things, but of course it's very different when you see it by yourself. So it was cool. My first impression of Sweden was that I was arriving in a freeze. So I felt like I don't know, like a meat or something that was going to be freeze for a while. Yeah. So well, and of course I didn't speak Swedish or English at all, just Portuguese. But I mean, the education system in Sweden and the whole Scandinavia is just amazing. So I started to study directly. And of course, I had special lessons with a translator to get to know and learn the language. And I actually learned Swedish in 3 months. And after 6 months, I was already a fluently Swedish speaker. So
we're going to do this podcast now in like Norwegian and Swedish.
Yes, of course. And it was funny because just to make it clear regarding football part, I was already playing in the pulses I had in school with the boys here in Brazil. But at that time, it wasn't well seen, especially by parents, you know, that a girl was playing football with the boys. And there we got into this macho culture, of course, unfortunately. But luckily enough, you know, when I then moved to Sweden, I was already playing. So the boys invited me to play with them. For example, he said, okay, you're Brazilian, so of course you should be playing football with us. And I was like, yes, sure. And actually after 3 weeks, I think it was, I got to know that at the neighborhood I was living in, they got a well-known football team in Stockholm called Järla IF.
Yeah.
And then I actually called them. Just don't ask me how. I asked to make a tryout because I mean I wasn't good on Swedish or English, so you know I just made a mix. The coach understood me and he said, okay, come that day and that time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I need to tell my parents, and I did so, and they were like, okay, we go there and let's see. And yeah, and then when I got there to the first training, I passed already, and they were like, okay, welcome to the team. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to play football. So my journey started over there, actually.
That's awesome. I mean, like it's cool also to see kind of like the importance of sports, right, as a integrating tool, and like how important it is to kind of like, you know, feel, I guess in a sense, easier, you know, coming into like, you know, a new place, you know, having the sport ability to kind of like, you know, transition into I guess like, you know, a new country, new culture, the freezer that you talked about that Scandinavia is very famous for in a sense. But talking a little bit about, I guess, like from there going more into your professional, you know, career working in sports, like take us a little bit through like how that started and so forth.
Yeah, everything went very fast for me, luckily. In 2009, actually, a coach from Hammarby saw me playing. Nice. So that's how I got there. I mean, Hammarby has, until today, I think the biggest, I mean, the highest amount of supporters in Scandinavia. So at that time, it was like, oh my gosh, so cool, of course. And then I went over there making like 2 weeks of trials as well, and I passed. So I played the Gothia Cup in Gothenburg. And we won, actually. Yeah, we became Sweden's best 94 category at that time. So yeah, and after that I played for a while in Enskede, the second division. Then I got back to the big team again, so AIK. And then I unfortunately had my first and very serious injury in my right knee, LCA, ACL and meniscus and everything. So I went directly to the surgery, and unfortunately they made some mistakes, so I got like worse, and that's why I stopped playing. And then I met Marta. Of course, everybody knows her. She was playing in Sweden that time. So we had great talks. Yeah, she played many years.
Yeah, she was quite a lot in Sweden. I remember that.
Yeah, she was. So she gave me lots of you know, incredible advices. And of course, being a young girl, getting advices from Marta, I mean, it's everything I wanted. So I never forget when she told me, like, okay, you're Brazilian with Swedish nationality already. You speak fluently Swedish, so just take the advantage to study as much as you can, and you know, just graduate from university, and then you can take which way you want to work with football. And then I told her, of course, that my passion will be to work with male football. Even though, of course, we know the difficulties because of the culture down here, but she encouraged me a lot, and so did my parents. So that's why I went to Stockholm University. I graduated there in Latin American Studies, which is equivalent down here to international relations. And I'm not going to lie, it was actually a B plan as well, because I was thinking, okay, let's say if I don't get lucky, you know, to one day work with my dream, of course I need a second plan, and having a good graduation, of course I will be able to work, I don't know, for multinationals and so on. So I had that as a second plan, because as a football player, you don't have time to study, especially when you come to a professional level. And it was when I came to a professional level that I got my injury. So I mean, it was the right timing just to focus on my studies as well.
Everything happens for a reason.
Indeed, yeah. And then when I was studying, well, my first job in football was actually at silly season in Sweden.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was lots of writing and covering the Brazilian football with the latest news. That time Neymar still played for Santos. Ronaldinho was making his comeback in Brasileirao Seria A. It was fun, of course, because, you know, people noticed that I was fast. And I remember one day when I wrote a news, something, I don't know if it was about Neymar or Santos FC. And then I remember I posted my news before goal.com, and I was like, oh my God, okay, I think I'm fast. I think I'm good. So that's the reason, you know, I kept on. And I was like, okay, there is something here. But then after a while, I was like, I don't like to just be sitting and writing. It's boring. It's not me, you know? So then, you know, I was speaking with lots of people around Sweden, and then I got the invitation of Erik Johansson, which is a former Swedish player, to enjoy his Samba Football Academy, which is a project with children that we have in Sweden, in Stockholm especially, to just show the right way in life, you know, telling about sports, especially the Brazilian football philosophy. So I was a coach for this project.
Nice.
For children, boys and girls between 9 and 17 years. During around 2 years, I was in that project. And it was amazing, of course, an amazing experience, you know, to learn children, and, you know, we had so much fun.
Oh, for sure.
But at the same time, you know, since I was playing before, this job and project was so important, because I really noticed that, okay, I don't want to be on the technical side. And that's when all the former players ever, man or woman, actually takes the decision, like, okay, am I going to follow the management in a way, or the technical part? So there was when I actually decided, okay, no, I want to be something more administrative and management, something like that. And then I took advantage of my communication skills. You know, I was shy when I was a child, but then, you know, the culture, the environment just made me like not shy at all. So I actually contacted one of the biggest agents in Sweden. I just took my phone and I made a short presentation and told him, like, hey, I don't know where you are in this world, but please just let me know when you're in Stockholm so we can take a coffee, because I want to speak with you. And he was like, what? Okay. He thought actually that I was contacting him to ask him to be my agent. Because in his head I was still playing, because of course after the call he went for some references about me. And then people told me, oh, she played for AIK, she played for Hammarby. So of course he thought that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Natural link.
Yes, of course. And then I remember from nowhere, I don't remember if it was an email or SMS or a call, but he told me, hey, I'm going to be in Stockholm these days, so just let me know when you're ready for a coffee. So he told me a day, I went to the lobby of his hotel, we took a coffee and we started to speak and talk lots of football, and he got impressed. And then he was like, okay, you don't want me to be your agent, you want to work as an agent. And I told him, I think so. I mean, I think it's cool, it's a cool profession. Like dealing with big deals and players and traveling around the world. But I was like, I just want to get some kind of initial experience, you know? So he was amazing. He actually presented me to lots of people in Sweden. He gave me like a different view of football. And that was the first time I got my first, let's say, business view of football. And of course, as everybody, I had my first experience we never made it to the negotiation part, but I did everything before the negotiation. I mean, I found the player, I spoke with the players club. That player was on loan from a very big club in Brazil to a smaller one. So I contacted this big club. I mean, I think I was 17 or something that time. And I got this player for free. I actually made it to a free loan because the goal was to take this player to Sweden.
Yeah.
And then I got a letter from the Swedish club and everything, like like an invitation letter with everything official.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one day before the player was going to travel to Sweden, the Swedish club regret and choose actually a Swedish player because they didn't want a foreign player into that place. Yeah. So there was actually my first frustration in football as a football professional, like outside of the pitch.
Right.
So this is the first time I'm actually telling this situation for a podcast, because usually I try to tell new things on every interview. Yeah. So this one is actually the first time I'm speaking in public about. But I think it's important, to also explain and speak about the bad and negative things as well. Yeah. Because I cried so much of frustration. I was so angry. I was like, how is this possible? And then I was actually speaking with different agents, and they told me, welcome to the team. Right. Everybody starts like that. And like,
it's
okay,
how it is.
It's how it is. You took your first step, so just go on.
Yeah.
And then, funny enough, I was like, okay, I don't want to be an agent anymore.
Right.
This is not for me.
Eye opener.
Yeah, my heart is not going to take this anymore. Like one more situation like this, and I don't know what's going to happen. So
right.
That's how I started to look back on the television and kind of journalism again.
Right.
And then I had another dream, like, hey, I want to be on TV one day commenting football.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so I got my first opportunity in 2018 for Sport Expressen. Nice. So then I covered the World Cup 2018, the Latin national teams.
Right.
And it was amazing. I mean, the production and the makeup and everything, and I felt so free,
Right.
So yeah, I had my first TV experience in Sweden. I think I was the first Brazilian woman as well commenting on male football. And that year was just amazing because I started the year in March with the Brazilian national team in Germany for the game between Germany and Brazil.
Right.
On the invitation of the technical staff.
Yeah.
So it was there. I got to meet lots of journalists and former players and, famous people. So I will actually say that my professional journey in the football industry started in March 2018, right. Like in a high level, of course.
Yeah.
Because later on in May, I got an invitation to Tunisia, to the ISMC, which is the International Sports Media Club.
Yeah.
Only with CAF and AFC representatives. So I was the one actually from Latin America. And I mean, I think I was 22. Right. So it was like, okay, everybody over 30, 40. Of course, I think we were like 3 women or something.
Right.
So just the experience, I mean, to be in North Africa, people were speaking French and Arabic. And from nowhere, I was in an environment full of, with people from over 50 countries. So like that year was very dynamic. It started in Germany and then in Tunisia and then on the TV for Sport Expressen and then Russia for the World Cup and then Qatar for almost 1 month.
Right.
And then London, actually with the Brazilian national team again for the game between Brazil and Uruguay at Emirates Stadium.
Right.
So yeah, that year was just so important to me because I was so into media, like TV, radio.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something inside me just told me like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is your dream?
Yeah.
And I was answering myself like yes and no, yes and no. Because I felt like, how will it be to work for a big club, to work for like something more executive, something more, in the management way.
Right.
So it was actually when I started to study a lot of football club management. I took courses, and of course I did lots of courses years before, in scouting, performance analysis, because I wanted to be well informed about everything.
Right.
And especially if I once, in my lifetime got the chance to work for a football club in an executive position, I want to be so respected that a man can come to me and speak regarding players' numbers, statistics, philosophy, and everything. And I want to be able to answer and speak on the same level.
Yeah.
So 2019 was the year I kept on, of course, on TV4 in Swedish, covering Juventus, Atletico Madrid for the international. I don't remember the name of this American friendly tournament they have. They had once in a year.
Yeah, I think I know which one you mean. Yeah. I don't recall the name of it though, but
yeah, me either. But we got Juventus and Atletico Madrid in Friends Arena in Stockholm, and I covered that game.
Yeah.
And I did my first officially mix zone, on that game. It was cool. Nice. Yeah, it was very cool. I mean, I had the Italian media on my right side, the Swedish, and people from the whole world, and great players just stopping by, Douglas Costa, Cristiano, that time João Felix as well, everybody.
That's awesome.
But then after that experience, I was like, I want to work for a football club or a big project. So 2019 was the year I got the opportunity, the chance to work for Double Pass. And I was joining the Almeria project. So I mean, La Liga, doesn't matter if it's the first or the second division. I mean, it's a dream for everybody, especially because the Saudi Sheikh just bought the club, so they really needed a reconstruction. We were responsible to establish the new methodology of the club, philosophy, to start over everything with the professionals who were already working for the club, but we were able also to see the lacks and how we could fill it in the best way. So I mean, my bosses were FIFA and UEFA level, so it was this is football university every day. I mean, I was learning so many incredible things, scouting on the highest level you could imagine, and player recruitment and football management, everything. And at the same time, I was working for a Belgian company, for a Spanish club owned by a Saudi man with Egyptian board and Portuguese technical, commission, and in Spain. So and I'm Brazilian, Swedish Brazilian. So it was like, hey, this is the more mixed, place I've ever been in before.
Literally had a piece of every country almost in.
I mean, I was speaking Swedish, Spanish, and Portuguese every day, English, of course. And I started to learn a bit of Arabic as well.
Wow.
Cool. Very difficult though.
No, I can imagine. And I mean, before I guess going more into the your experience with Sao Paulo as well, which I'm sure you're kind of leading up to right now, but I think it's important as well because you talk a little bit about first of all, thank you for sharing all the story, and also kind of the good and the bad, because I mean that's part of the journey too, and understanding yes, you were talking about my professional top level started there, but it takes time, getting up to that point, and you will have ups and downs, and you will meet a lot of obstacles and challenges along the way. And also a very key lesson, which I think you talked a lot about too, because I think a lot of young people kind of have this, they have that dream, I want to work for a club, or I want to work for a league, or I want to work for agent or whatever, right? And then you kind of have to try it out to see, is it really something you want to do? And that's just part of the exploration phase of going into the sport industry. And yes, maybe you want to do football, and that's cool, but there's so many things that you can do in the industry that you have to kind of try out. And that's why internships, volunteering, getting your foot in the door is so important, because it's not just about getting that first job or boosting and getting your career, but it's actually about learning what you like and what you don't like, and understanding, okay, what is something that I'm really passionate about and that, you want to do. But also, as you were, going with as well, is that, that passion, and I guess that kind of interest changes over time too. Like, okay, now I want to try something different. Now I want to, go a different angle. And but you're still in that universe, that football universe.
Yes, of course. I think especially in a young age, you don't know what you want to become like in 10, 15 years.
Right.
So of course, during the years, you will like feel, okay, maybe I can do better here than there. So I was like, okay, living this daily routine in Almeria with so high level professionals was like, okay, amazing. But then 2019, the end of the year, the pandemic was already starting, like in China and Europe. So, and also because of family issues, I wanted to go back to Brazil and, be there for a while, be there for a couple of months. And well, in the beginning of 2020, many clubs down here started to notice that I was around. So I actually got contacted by 5 clubs on the Serie A, and São Paulo in specific. I got already contacted by the president in 2018. Like, he was following me and seeing my journey and seeing like, okay, you're everywhere. You know lots of people. You have lots of knowledge. It's incredible how much football you're watching. So when I had my first conversation with him, it was like, it felt like a match.
Right.
Yeah, because a lot of things, I mean, I didn't say in the beginning, but I'm not from São Paulo, the big city. I'm from Bragança Paulista, which is 1 hour from here. Today they have Red Bull Bragantino as a Serie A team as well. But it was just a match, because I was like, okay, this is a football giant, world-known club, very close to my family. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. Okay, this is the place. And of course it was challenging, especially facing this pandemic. I mean, Brazil was chaos, unfortunately. Everybody was afraid. So I was very close to, sometimes I thought about going back to Europe, but at the same time I thought, okay, this is going to be maybe one of my biggest challenges. So so I did all this analysis, family, the moment, pandemic, everything, and I did accept the offer last year in the beginning of 2021 as the head of the international department, which was, wow, it was an amazing year. I mean, it felt like months because everything went so fast.
Right. No, I can imagine. And I mean, like, you're talking about like some critical, like factors and decisions there that you have to make. It's like obviously the entire world got impacted by the pandemic, but it's just like, okay, well, are you close to your family? Like, where like all these factors that is important for you in your life now, does it make sense, to be a little bit closer, or to, be in Europe, or like, where does that journey take you? And also, as you were talking about too, it's like finding that right match, finding that right fit. And I think that's a very key point of going into the industry as well now. It's not just about, finding an organization to work with, but of course, like, when you're kind of, young and you kind of like have to start, you kind of like have to get experience, and that's part of the game. But once you start like realizing, what you like, what you don't like, what's kind of like your angle, it's important to take the time to sit down and really like, is this the organization that makes sense for me in terms of the values that I have, what's important for me in my life, how they operate, like, are we on the same page? Because it's about, how you express yourself, how you develop yourself as a character, and then keep evolving as a professional as well. And I think that's a very critical thing, probably now more than ever as well, because the industry is becoming so professionalized. So it's important finding the good fit. And if you have the fit, that's where you can provide the most value as well. So it would make sense.
So true. I totally agree with you. And at the same time, you will never know until you start and actually start to live the daily routine. Right. And that's regarding all the companies, all the football clubs in the environment. So you just need to start somewhere and then see, because the journey, maybe in the beginning it can be your dream, and then we'll say, okay, maybe we're not at the same page, maybe this is not what I want, and it's okay. I mean, you only live once. The most important thing is actually to be happy. That's why, in every interview and so on, I really try to be Camilla, as natural as I can, to tell the reality, because it's not an easy journey. I mean, there is so many crazy things and difficulties and everything that happens, but it's all about how much you really want it. So the journey was amazing. I feel very, very happy, because I mean, I had a dream that I wanted to become the youngest woman executive in the Serie A, in Brazilian football. And I made it. So
it's awesome.
If you notice, everything I tell you here, even since the beginning, it's like, okay, I want to be on television, I want to be in a radio, I want to cover a World Cup, and I set up goals for myself. And I make it happen. Of course, during this make it happen journey, I got, lots of no's, lots of doors closed in my face, and people that actually didn't believe on me before. But, it's all about reputation and how you work on it, because it's like you said, it's a football industry, it's an industry, and you will get the credibility of the professional, the person you are, after showing exactly who you are. And that's why I make sure to always be myself in an interview, in my daily routine, or in my work stuff. So
it makes total sense. And again, like, I think it's very important what you're talking about here is it wasn't just kind of like I just went from place to place to place to place. Everything was, just green. What do we say? Like green,
green and roses.
Right, exactly. Red roses and blue skies, happiness and all this stuff. There's a lot of hardship and a lot of hard work down the line too. But it's important, as you were saying, like, putting down some solid goals, working towards those, and understanding that, there are many ways to leading up to those goals, and there's many pathways to find that, but you got to start, and you got to like set those goals and work towards it. And yes, there would be, ups and downs and challenges along the way. And knowing, like, we dive into a lot of different things here, and I wanted to just stay a little bit with your work at Sao Paulo FC as the head of international department. So what were some of your, I guess, like, tasks, some key lessons that you took from your journey? And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the crypto side as well that you got. But let's start a little bit about like some I guess, like, some key tasks and some lessons you have learned along the way.
I had all the international matters, so everything from the technical and management exchanges to institutional partnerships. For example, the Arab-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce deal I closed last year with the help, not the help, but Cafu was a person who was there with us on the day we presented it to the media and to the 22 countries of the Arab League. And the reason I chose him was because, not only because of his history as an idol of São Paulo FC and the Brazilian national team, raising the trophy in 2002, which is a historical moment. But of course, since he is one of the ambassadors of Qatar 2022, the World Cup. So everything was very well thinking. And, me and the president, we had a very good relationship already with the Arab-Brazilian Chamber of Commerce before. So the goal was, of course, to make special actions and so on for this World Cup, being the first one in Middle East, and also to prospect new kind of businesses. But there it is where it involves lots of cultural things, and you really need to have like a very good vision of the Arabic culture, because when we are speaking about that side of the world, we have the Asian part, and we have also the North African part, which is completely different cultures and languages as well, and visions. And that's where I think my ability laid on, because as I told you, 2018 I got lucky to went to Tunisia, and I started my journey very close to the North African part, in Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, and so on. But at the same time, I really have a good connection and network on the Middle East part. So everything was a match, and I could sit very easily together with the chamber. But the way to convince people that maybe didn't know or have the same kind of vision, cultural vision, made it a bit difficult, and of course, the pandemic was making everything much worse because we couldn't, be traveling or meeting people. It was lots of restrictions, and we were like, oh goodness, maybe we should aid and put it on hold a bit. But it was amazing. I mean, of course, São Paulo FC is already well known worldwide, but at the same time, it's not. People doesn't speak about São Paulo or the Brazilian clubs as they should do, like we speak down here about the European clubs, AC Milan, Manchester City, United. And there is where the internationalization takes part. I mean, okay, it doesn't matter if São Paulo or Flamengo or Palmeiras because of something in the history. I mean, we should speak about these clubs in the world the same way we speak about Barcelona and Real Madrid. So it's all about the internationalization, strategy to make this happen. So from nowhere, I mean, of course, after this closed deal, the name of the club were like in lots of Arabic media, and people were speaking and talking about São Paulo FC. And I really tried to tell people, in North Africa and Middle East that, hey, you should not remember Kaká and Cafu, for example, from Milan. You should remember them also from São Paulo. So it was a huge strategy. We had, of course, Edmilson and Rai and lots of other players as well. And then, a bit apart from the institutional part, I had a very close relationship as well with the youth academy, because of course you can just imagine how many youth players we have down here. So not all of them will make the transition, unfortunately, to the professional team. So why should we maybe strain a Brazilian rival, if we can maybe do an international negotiation, an international deal, and everybody will get something good from it, like the player, the clubs, and of course the agents. So it was involving very much this technical part, and to find the right fit also for this player, because maybe you take a player that have the skills and everything to play for let's say La Liga, but not a top team, maybe a middle table team to a small smaller clubs, or maybe this player should fit better in Serie A Italy, or so it was much about finding right clubs to not lost a very talented boy. So well, it was involving everything that had with international matters, and we wanted to make exchanges with our professionals to other clubs as well, but unfortunately due to the pandemic it wasn't possible. So yeah, and then I will of course tell you a bit more about the innovation technology part.
Well, I mean, like it's been quite a journey so far, and it's obviously a lot of different things to touch upon, and we will go straight like into the crypto thing. So one of the projects obviously you worked on at Sao Paulo FC as well was involvement in, I guess, in a sense, the crypto world, getting them their own token. Talk a little about, I guess, like that process, what kind of value you provided for, the club and the fans, and sort of like why this was kind of like important, I guess.
Yes, sure. I was already reading about the entire technological revolution in football during the pandemic. And for the time I lived abroad in Sweden, traveling around, I have like very good sources that always help me to get very like updated to the newest in football. So when I saw that USA and Europe were already starting this crypto thing in football, I was like, hey, okay, what is it? So when I first saw it, and I saw the clubs that were involved, I was like, okay, we definitely need to take it down here to Brazil. But of course, I didn't understand a lot of how it was working, because it is complicated, especially if you're not from the crypto world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so when I saw that it was actually a guaranteed financial return, and I started to link that to the number of fans that Sao Paulo has and the great sales potential for the passion of the fans, of course.
Right.
I called the president. I mean, I took my phone and called the president. I say, "Hello, president. I really need to tell you something." And I started to speak and talk about NFTs and tokens, and he was like, "Okay, what are you talking about?" And I just say, "Okay, you will not understand it over a call. It is indeed complicated, because I am still trying to understand how it really works. But one thing I actually can guarantee is that we are going to have like a fast financial return, and it's going to sell. It's going to be a massive thing in the Brazilian football." And at that time, it was between March and April last year. And no club in Latin America had even started with that. So I wanted to be the first, because São Paulo has a very good reputation in the history regarding the pioneerism and being first on things. And since we lost that for a while, I was like, okay, it's time to recover that. Yeah,
for sure.
So he told me, okay, well, sure. I just told him, just believe me, and let's try to do it. I mean, if we don't succeed, no problem. We're not lost any money. So after that, I called the director of marketing, and he were talking with other companies about it. And I said, okay, but hey, just give some attention to this one, because it's the same that is making great successful cases for great clubs. I think we are in the same level as, like, for example, Juventus and Fenerbahce and these kinds of clubs. So hey, let's go this way. And I presented him to the people I was speaking with from the socials part. And it was very fun, because can you just imagine how it was during the pandemic here? We had like a different kind of levels, and we were at the level purple, which is over the level red of attention. So we were not able to go outside, go to stores or everything. So and then you just jump into the crypto world. I couldn't even explain how it felt. And but then the marketing director, he held some meetings until the deal was closed. Unfortunately, we were not the first club on it, because it took time. And then it's like I told you before, because of all this vision, and it's very dynamic, because we are dealing with countries with different time zones. So in my point of view, if I want to close a deal, let's say with, I don't know, Dubai, which is 7 hours, I am 7 hours before, then I need to be awake on the business time in Dubai, because I need them. I want to, close the deals with them. And then we had 3 other big Brazilian clubs closing the deal with Socios. So we became the 4th. And in 2 hours, São Paulo sold 850,000 fan tokens, and we raised $1.7 million. So of course it was incredible numbers. And then it proves what I told you just before, that the passion of the fans, of the supporters of such a big and giant club is something we as industry professionals need to have a good vision on. Because regarding the players, the supporters are like the most important things a club just have. Like we are nothing without the fans, we are nothing without the supporters. So if we involve them, like fan tokens, of course you're able to be there and not taking decisions, but you can be a part of the final decision that will be made. So that was yes, exactly, because you need to activate, and you just need to make your supporters to feel involved in your club. Like, hey, hello, you are important for us, so come on, let's all of us be a big team. So the crypto thing started like that in the middle of pandemic. European clubs were doing it. I was like, okay, we have the same potential. So I mean, I'm talking about 20 million supporters. So
no, I mean, like, there's a lot of potential there, and I think, you know, another element as well that and I mean, like, we'll touch upon that, and I think in a sense, going back to the next question, but in terms of, I guess, the expectations that fans have, right, in today's situation, they want to be more involved. They want to feel like they're part of something as well, and also not just because of, you know, their passion for the club and the team, but it's also about all the possibilities and distractions you have in today's market. You know, like, there's so much going on, so you kind of like need, as a club as well, to really appreciate your fans and do what you can to activate them and understanding, okay, your opinion, your you know, your opinion matters, and we appreciate that, you know, you support us, and that's a key thing. And, you know, obviously you know, living across, you know, both Sweden, you know, Brazil, probably a lot of other places you visited as well, as you've been saying, if you wanted to, like, you know, provide, I guess, like some lessons you learned along the way about the industry, but also, you know, working, living in different cultures, what kind of, you know, lessons would you give people?
Yeah, well, since I was a child, I have always been very adaptable, like I told you in the beginning of our conversation, because, well, we moved to a completely different country, to the other side of the world. And, well, since I grew up under a kind of adaptation environment, I took that with me until today. So it helps me a lot. I mean, I had also always been interested in learning languages. And of course, this has given me a huge advantage in terms of always being able to communicate wherever I am. So I think that these are the keys of everything today. That I know, like, if I travel wherever I want to, or if I am with somebody from wherever country that this person is, I will be able to communicate. And that's why I, you know, said to myself, okay, I just need to learn as many languages as I can. And, you know, if I'm not able to make more than 5, 6, at least I want to, you know, have some kind of understanding. And like I'm telling you a couple of times here as well, it's very important to, you know, not be shy, but at the same time to observe and, you know, just pay attention to things. I mean, the sky is the limit, especially in our industry, definitely. So I'm incredibly grateful for everything I learned in Sweden and the education system, which I know, unfortunately, is not the same in Brazil. But I mean, I learned English by myself, you know, listening to music and watching movies, you know, I put everything in English and then the subtitle as well. Spanish, because it's very close to Portuguese, but I studied 3 years in high school in Stockholm as well. And then I was lucky to study French because, you know, in Scandinavia, we have, of course, our first language, which should be Norwegian or Swedish, and then you have English, and then you choose a third one in school. So I chose actually French. So I was fluently speaking, but of course I haven't been practicing for over 10 years, so I forgot a lot.
So the last question is not French.
I
don't speak French either, so we're good.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all about, you know, the kind of lessons. The football industry is so multicultural. So I mean, if you speak English, if you're not shy, if you want to work, I mean, the sky is the limit. Just go for it.
100%. And I mean, like, talking specifically about the football industry, if you wanted to provide like some tips, you know, for students, you know, looking to get a job in the football industry, obviously talk about, you know, being adaptable, you know, being open. What kind of other, you know, I guess, key specific tips would you provide them?
Yeah, the first thing is studies in general. Also, like I told you before, I had a B plan, not because I knew the B plan will be, you know, needed, but at the same time, just to have general knowledges. And secondly, studies in football in general. You know, if you want to be a manager for a football club, you should take a scouting performance analysis course. You should, you know, study regarding the referee and, you know, rules during the games, and study national teams and clubs and leagues and everything.
Right.
I took also a very short law course. I don't know anything about the law, as you know, the sports rights, but at least if a lawyer, you know, speaks with me, I will understand what he's saying. And also one very important thing is to watch football as much as you can, because it's important to watch different leagues, because you know, if you just read books and you are studying and taking courses, but you don't have the practical part, which is difficult, of course, because the person can say, hey, okay, but I don't work in the football industry, so how can I get the practical part? Yeah, you can watch games, you can go to games, you can ask football clubs to watch training like live. And you just need to prepare, of course. So that's my third tip. And then the fourth one, but the most important of it all, is the networking from day one. From the day you decide, okay, I want to work with football one day, you will get 100,000 of no's. You will get people that will not even want to listen to you. You know, you will have so many doors closing, but after every no and after, you know, door closing, you should just take a deep breath and say, okay, next one will open, because I can do it. So just believe in yourself. And I know I always speak about, like, just send messages to people, present yourself, but you need to show everything I told you before. You need to show football knowledge in general, because people, you know, it's not all about football, it's about people, it's about environments and cultures. And also watch football as much as you can, be updated.
100%. I mean, like, with that, it's just a perfect way to wrap up the podcast. And Camilla, I would like to, you know, thank you so much for taking the time and for you know, sharing your story, your insights, all your tips that you have. And it's going to be an interesting journey as well, you know, following where you're going next. And for those of you, of course, that have been in all the way at the end, you know, make sure to like the video, subscribe as well if you haven't, and of course, sign up at sportingglobal.com, you know, to make sure you start building network, connecting with the right kind of people, finding relevant job opportunities in the industry, you know, internships, volunteering, part-time, full-time jobs. And of course, you know, as Camilla was talking about as well, increasing your knowledge with access to some of the top programs in the world, you know, offering sport-related programs. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. And Camilla, I don't know if you are aware, but you know, on the podcast, we kind of like have a tradition or like a challenge that we do to every guest. So, you know, it might be a little bit easy for you though, because you lived in Sweden, so might be a little bit easy for you, but we'll see. So essentially, your challenge is that I have to teach you a little bit Norwegian.
Oh, wow, amazing.
So with every video we do, we always finish with Vi snakkes, which means see you later in Norwegian. So that's what you have to say. Vi
snakkes.
Perfect, easy. You know, like it is a little bit cheating when you lived in Sweden for so long. Just
a little bit. Yeah, thank you so much, Ole, and thank you so much everybody from Sporting Global. I really enjoyed it. I'm following you guys, and I really want everybody who's listening to us to follow them as well for great content. And thank you so much, and tack.
Tusen tack.
Tusen tack.
All right, thank you, Camilla.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.